With a coffee cup in his hand, William stood on the front porch of his log cabin home, looking at the snow that had fallen the night before from the blizzard that came through. The snow had covered all the trees. William owned a 500-acre Christmas tree farm, and the snow had fallen all over each branch of the trees, and it was a perfect Christmas card picture, a perfect Christmas. Just then, the telephone rang, and William went inside, and he answered the phone. William, this is Sheriff Johnson. I need your help today. Can you give me a hand? Sure, Sheriff. What do I need to do? Well, William, last night there was a van full of high school students on their way home from a Christmas concert, and they never showed up. We're afraid they got in some kind of trouble or an accident, and we need people to go out along the highway and look for them. The blizzard has closed all the highways down, and I can't get any rescue people in there to search. South of you, I have people in there on horseback, but up by you, I don't have anybody that I can send other than you. And we're losing our power lines and our phone lines by the minute. Do you think you'll be able to help? Just then the phone went dead. William hung up his phone and he went into his bedroom and opened up his closet. He dug out all of his heavy winter gear and put it on and started heading toward the front door. Come on, boys, let's go. And as he opened the doors, two big Great Danes got up and they went running to the door. Those are his companions that he has now. They go with him every place he goes. He went out to the barn and opened up the doors and went over to the stalls and pulled out his two draft horses and hitched them up to the big sled, the sled that he uses to bring the trees in from the fields. He put the sides on the sled and took 3 bales of straw and cut the bands and laid the straw on the sleigh, threw some blankets in, and got back up inside and started to take the sled out the door and says, come on, guys, get in. And the 2 dogs jumped up in the sleigh and off they went toward the highway. It took them a little while to get there from the property, and William got to the highway and he stopped the team of horses and he got down off the sleigh and he called his dogs and they came right to his front and stood in front of him. He told them, he says, boys, I need your help today. He says, we have some kids out there that need our help. I need you to find them. So go find the kids. And off the dogs went. He then went around to his team of horses and he patted them on the face and says, girls, I need your help today. It's going to be a long day for us. We have some kids that need our help. So here, I want you to get a little extra food to eat. So he put a couple feed bags on them full of their special treats, oats stuffed with molasses. That would give them the extra energy that they was going to need to get through all this heavy snow. So after they finished, William got back up on the sleigh and he started up the team. They went up and down the highway on both sides for miles and miles. He searched all morning, searched all afternoon. It was starting to be later in the day, and William stopped the horses, and he got down and turned on all the lights that he had on the sleigh. Then he looked up and he said, Lord, it's been a long time since I talked to you. In fact, I haven't talked to you since Helen's death. I know I'm wrong, but that was the only way that I could handle her death, Lord. That was a big loss in my life. But today, Lord, I ask that in this time of miracles that you help me to find these children that are lost out here. Just give me the right direction to go to and keep them safe until I get there. William got back up in his sleigh and he started the horses off. And they searched for several hours longer, and he was just about ready to give up and turn the horses around. And he heard his dogs barking in the far-off distance. So he turned the team around and started heading toward that direction. It took him quite a while to get there, and when he got there, there it was. There was the van. It had slid off the road and went down in a gully, and they were stuck. Several of the kids were outside playing with the dogs, and when he got there, he ran down there and, are you kids okay? Yes, sir, we're all okay. Is anybody hurt? Well, Mr. Patterson's hurt. He hit his head on the window when we crashed, and he's been going in and out of sleep the whole time. Well, you kids get on up in the sled, and I'll get Mr. Peterson up there. So he helped him get up into the sleigh, and He turned the horses around and they started heading home. Come on, boys, get up. And the dogs jumped up in there and just snuggled in right with the kids. And they started heading back to his farm. He got as close as he could to the front door and told the kids to go on inside and get by the fireplace to get warm. And he was helping take Mr. Patterson into the house. And he laid him on the sofa and covered him up with a blanket. Told the kids he'd be back in and fix them some supper in a few minutes. He had to put the horses away. So he went back to his barn and got the wagon in, and then he took the horses over and put them in their stalls, bedded them down for the night, put a blanket on them so that they'd stay warm. Then he turned off the lights and shut the door. He went back into the house, and the kids were all in there talking about all the things that had happened to them with the accident and the snow and everything. And William fixed dinner, and then they sat around the table and were talking. And William started asking them different questions about their school and their friends and their families. And one of the girls spoke up, and she said, "You sure have a pretty home here, all decorated like Christmas." And William said, "Well, I decorate the inside the best I can. My wife, Helen, that was her favorite thing. She would decorate the house inside and outside. In fact, she'd even decorate the barn inside and outside." "Well, where's your kids?" "Well, we never had kids. It was just Helen and I." So then the kids started talking about their families and how sad they were that they were going to miss Christmas Eve and Christmas with their families. And William told them that he would get them home as soon as he could, hopefully by Christmas. So he asked them how they wanted to sleep, and they all said, "We just wanted to sleep around the fireplace." So William went in and got blankets and pillows and brought them in for them, and they sat down in front of the fireplace. Then after a few minutes, they were all starting to fall asleep, and William threw a few more logs on the fire to keep it warm during the night, and then he went on the bed. The two dogs then went over by the front door, and they laid down by the door. It was their turn to watch over their new family for the night. The next morning, William got up early and started to fix breakfast. He picked up the telephone, and it was still dead. He couldn't call anybody. So he started fixing breakfast, and pretty soon some of the girls got up, and they helped him, and then the boys got up, and they started setting the table. So they had breakfast, and then they all just started talking and reminiscing about things of Christmas, things that were going on in their school. And then all of a sudden, one of the girls asked him if he thought it'd be okay if they went out and decorated the barn so they could give him a Christmas concert that night. And he said, "Oh, that was great. He'd love to have that happen." So they finished breakfast, and after they got everything washed and cleaned up and put away, all the kids went out and started decorating. William had told them where all the decorations were. So they started decorating the barn for their concert that night. William again tried the telephone, and it was still down. So later on, he started fixing lunch. When it was done, he went out and called the kids, and they all came in and had lunch. And they hurried up and ate and got things cleaned up and went right back out to decorate again. William tried the telephone again. It was still dead. He couldn't get a hold of anybody. As it started to get closer to evening, William had supper fixed for them. The kids were sitting around eating, and then they said, "Okay, it's time for the concert." So William covered up Mr. Patterson and left him there on the couch, and he went out to the barn with the kids. And when they turned the lights on, he couldn't believe it. They didn't just decorate a few things. They decorated everything in the barn. The horses even had antlers on. So he sat there on a bale of straw, and the kids started singing their songs. And then when they were done, William got up and he stood up in front of them, and he thanked them for such beautiful music. He said, "You're like a bunch of angels singing to me." Then he opened up his Bible, and he read the greatest story ever told, the birth of Christ. And then they all shut the lights off, and William closed the door, and they went back into the house. And they were all sitting around for a few more minutes, just talking around the fireplace. And then William asked them where they wanted to sleep tonight, and they said, "Oh, we still want to sleep in front of the fireplace." So William put a few more logs on the fire, and they started falling asleep one by one. And when the last one fell asleep, William went back outside to his barn, and he went up in the second floor and opened up his workshop that he had, and he started bringing all the wooden toys down. It was William and Helen's thing that they did every year at Christmas time. They would drive down to town and put wooden toys on the doorstep of all the kids in town. So he brought all those toys in and put them underneath the tree, and then he went on to bed. When he went to bed and shut the light off, the dogs again went back over by the front door and were there to watch over the family that night. The next morning, William got up and wanted to fix a good Christmas breakfast for the kids. So he tried the phone again, and it was still down. So he started fixing breakfast, and the girls got up and helped him, and then the boys got up and set the table again. And they started sitting around eating, and just as they finished, William asked him, "Well, did you check the tree and see what Santa brought you?" And they go, "Santa? Well, yeah, Santa came last night. There's all kinds of things for you. Go look." And they all got up and they went running in the living room as if they were little kids again. And they saw all these wooden toys under the tree. And they turned to William and they said, "What are all these?" And he says, "Those are yours. Santa brought them to you. Take as many of them as you want." Each one of them had at least 3. They were sitting around the rest of the day just playing with their toys. Then William checked the phone again, and this time it worked, and he called the sheriff, and he told the sheriff that he had the kids, that they were all safe. The only one that was hurt is Mr. Patterson. The sheriff said, "Well, as soon as we can get the road plowed that way, we'll be there to get them. It'll probably be sometime late this afternoon." So William went in and told the kids that later on that day they'd be there to pick them up and take them home, that they'll be able to be with their families on Christmas. So a while later, there was a knock at the door, and William went over there, and there was the sheriff. He had several vehicles to take the children home and an ambulance there to take Mr. Patterson to the hospital. Each of the children got up, and as they passed William, they each gave him a hug and told him thank you for saving them that night and bringing them to his house and sharing his Christmas with them. And they asked if they could come back next year and do Christmas carols with him. And he said, "Sure, that'd be great." And each one of them promised that they would be back. So after they left, William thought about it for a while, and he thought about each one of those kids and everything that they talked about, and he finally all of a sudden had a family. All year long, William thought about those children and just wondered if they'd keep their promise of coming back to see him at Christmas time. Then all of a sudden, about 2 days before Christmas, his doorbell rang. He opened the door, and there was every one of those kids. They all came there to see William for Christmas. They came in, and it was like a big homecoming. They all went outside and started decorating the barn again. Then as soon as they got done, they went and got William and brought him out, and again he sat on that bale of straw, and they sang their songs. When they got done, William once again opened his Bible and read the story of the birth of Christ. And then he told them and thanked them for coming back. For now he finally had a family that he could share Christmas with. And they all meant so much to him. So this keeps going on every year and has been going on for years and years to come. In fact, some of the kids are bringing their own children there now to see William every Christmas. And William always ends it with the Christmas story, and they always hands out his wooden toys that he makes for everybody. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas.